You've been giving away your power your whole life and you didn't even notice it. Every time you've reacted emotionally, you handed someone the steering wheel of your life, and the people watching took notes on exactly which buttons work. Think about that for a second. The last time someone insulted you and you felt your chest tighten, your face flush, your words come out sharp and defensive, in that moment, you weren't you. You were a puppet. And the person pulling the strings didn't even need to be skilled. They just needed to know one thing about you, that you can be moved. That there is a button, and it works. That is the single most dangerous thing about you. Not your weaknesses, not your fears, not your insecurities, those everyone has. The danger is that people can see them light up in real time. Your emotions are visible. Your reactions are predictable. And predictable people are controllable people. So here is the antithesis you need to burn into your mind right now: reactivity is weakness disguised as passion. Composure is power disguised as indifference. Being liked is not being respected. And attention is temporary, but mental space is power. Machiavelli understood something that most people still refuse to accept, that the person who feels the least in any confrontation controls the most. He didn't mean becoming cold or heartless. He meant becoming so internally anchored that nothing external can shake you. The ruthless art Machiavelli perfected was not cruelty. It was the removal of every lever someone else could pull. And the biggest lever anyone can pull on you is your own emotional reactivity. So I'm going to walk you through 7 dark principles for making your calm the weapon they can't survive. These are not feel-good tips. These are strategic recalibrations of how you operate in a world full of people who want to move you. Let's begin. Number 1. Your reaction is their receipt. Every time you react to provocation, you are handing the other person a receipt. A receipt that says, yes, this works. You pressed here, and I responded. You threw this at me, and I flinched. You insulted this part of my identity, and I showed you it matters to me. That receipt is the most valuable thing you can give someone who is trying to gain power over you. Because now they know. They know the exact coordinates of your emotional weak points. They know which words to use, which tone to take, which timing to employ. You've given them a map of your interior, drawn in your own handwriting. Most people think their reactions are natural. They think getting angry when provoked is just being human. And it is. But being human is not the same as being powerful. Being human is the baseline. Being powerful is the upgrade. Strategic people understand that every visible reaction is a data leak. You're giving away intelligence for free. You're showing your cards without anyone even having to bluff. Think about the last argument you had. The other person said something, you felt the heat rise, and you fired back. In that moment, what did you actually accomplish? You felt a brief surge of self-righteousness. You felt like you were defending yourself. But what actually happened is that you confirmed their attack landed. You told them they reached you. And a person who has been reached is a person who can be reached again. This is why the most dangerous people in any room are not the loudest. They are the ones whose faces don't change. The ones who hear something provocative and simply, don't move. Don't flinch. Don't defend. Don't explain. Just sit with it. That silence is not passivity. It's intelligence gathering. While you're reacting, you're revealing. While they're silent, they're learning. The cost to you of constant reactivity is enormous and it compounds. Every time you react, you train the people around you. You literally condition them to know that if they do X, you will do Y. You become a machine with inputs and outputs. Press this button, get this response. And people are not kind to machines they understand. They push the buttons for fun. They push them when they're bored. They push them when they want to feel powerful. And every time they push, you react, and they get a little hit of satisfaction from knowing they can move you. You are feeding their ego with your emotional expenditure. You are paying a tax on every provocation, and they are collecting it for free. So the first principle is this: your reaction is their receipt. Stop handing out receipts. When someone provokes you, do nothing. Not because you're weak, but because you refuse to provide intelligence. Your non-reaction is not a withdrawal. It is a strategic withholding of data. You're not retreating. You're closing the valve. And when the valve is closed, they have nothing to pump. Number 2. Anger is a transfer of control. Here is something that most people fundamentally misunderstand about anger. They think anger is power. They think feeling angry means they are strong, that their rage is a force, that their fury will carry them to victory. This is one of the most dangerous illusions in human psychology. Anger is not power. Anger is the act of handing your remote control to someone else and then screaming at the television because you don't like what's playing. Seneca understood this with devastating clarity. He saw that anger is the most destructive emotion, not because it causes the most damage to others, but because it causes the most damage to you. When you are angry, you are not in the driver's seat. The person who made you angry is in the driver's seat. They chose the destination. They chose the speed. They chose the route. You are just a passenger, white-knuckled, watching yourself go somewhere you didn't intend to go. Anger is a confession. It is a confession that someone else has access to your internal state. It is proof that they found the door and walked in. And now you're doing exactly what they wanted you to do. You're agitated, you're loud, you're making mistakes, you're saying things you'll regret, you're showing them that they matter enough to disturb your peace. Think about what anger actually costs you. It costs you your judgment. When you're angry, your thinking narrows. Your options shrink. You become reactive instead of strategic. You say things that are easy to weaponize against you later. You make decisions that you would never make in a calm state. And the person who provoked you? They're watching. If they're skilled, they provoked you on purpose, and now they're watching you self-destruct on a schedule they set. If they're not skilled, they're still benefiting, because your anger makes you stupid, and stupid opponents are easy to defeat. The strategic argument for composure is not moral. It's not about being the bigger person. It's not about virtue or goodness or spiritual elevation. It's about control. Pure, mechanical, strategic control. When you are calm, you see more. You see the other person's strategy. You see their insecurities driving their attack. You see the architecture of their manipulation. You see the exits and the entrances. When you are angry, you see nothing but red, and red is the color of someone who has already lost. Most people get angry and then try to win while angry. Strategic people refuse to get angry in the first place, because they understand that the game is already over the moment you lose your composure. The cost to you of chronic anger is this: you are constantly being played. You are an instrument that anyone can play if they know the key. And the key is simple: just find what matters to you and press on it. Your intelligence, your appearance, your competence, your relationships, your integrity, whatever it is, if it can provoke a reaction, it can be used against you. Anger makes you a public instrument. Composure makes you a locked room. Which do you want to be? Number 3. Strip away the need for external validation. This is the deepest principle, and it's the one that takes the longest to internalize. But it's also the one that, once mastered, makes every other principle automatic. Here it is. As long as you need other people to tell you that you're good, you are their prisoner. Marcus Aurelius practiced something radical. He trained himself to need nothing from anyone, not their approval, not their admiration, not their validation, not even their acknowledgement. He understood that the moment you need someone to tell you that you're worthy, you have given them the power to make you feel unworthy. Compliments and insults are the same mechanism. They are both external inputs designed to move your internal state. A compliment elevates you. An insult wounds you. But in both cases, the same thing has happened. Someone else has reached inside you and adjusted your emotional temperature. You didn't set it. They did. Most people think they're immune because they don't care about insults. But then check their reaction to compliments. Watch how they light up. Watch how their posture changes. Watch how they become warmer, more cooperative, more pliable. The compliment worked. It moved them. And if a compliment can move you, so can an insult. You just haven't met the right one yet. The goal is not to become immune to insults while remaining vulnerable to compliments. That's not immunity. That's selective susceptibility. And selective susceptibility is still susceptibility. The goal is to become immovable. To reach a place where a compliment is pleasant but doesn't change your self-assessment, and an insult is unpleasant but doesn't change your self-assessment. Where your internal evaluation of yourself is independent of external input. Not arrogant. Not dismissive. Just anchored. Like a ship that's been properly weighted, the waves come and go, but the ship doesn't drift. This is what it means to strip away the need for external validation. You stop outsourcing your self-worth. You stop renting your identity from other people's opinions. You stop being a weather vane that spins with every change in the social wind. And when you do this, something extraordinary happens. You become invisible to manipulation. Because nearly all manipulation works by threatening your self-image. Someone insults you to provoke a reaction that makes you look bad. Someone praises you to get you to comply with their agenda. Someone withholds approval to make you work harder for their validation. All of these strategies require one thing, that you care. That you need. That you want something from them emotionally. Remove that need, and the entire machinery of manipulation grinds to a halt. There's nothing to grab onto. Nothing to pull. Nothing to leverage. The cost to you of needing external validation is a life lived in response to other people. You are always performing. Always calibrating. Always checking, did that land well? Did they approve? Do they like me? Did I say the right thing? This is exhausting. And it's not just exhausting, it's enslaving. You are a servant to every audience you encounter. You adjust yourself to please them, and in doing so, you lose yourself. You forget what you actually think. You forget what you actually want. You become a composite of everyone else's preferences, a mirror that reflects whatever is put in front of it. Mirrors don't have power. They just have surfaces. Number 4. Silence is a weapon, not an absence. Most people are terrified of silence. They fill it. They fill it with words, with explanations, with justifications, with nervous laughter, with concessions. They fill it because silence feels like vulnerability, like exposure, like standing naked in a room full of people waiting for you to speak. Here's what strategic people know. Silence is not vulnerability. Silence is pressure. When you are silent in a confrontation, several things happen simultaneously. First, you stop giving away information. Every word you speak is data. Every explanation is a map. Every justification is a confession. When you're silent, you give nothing. The other person has to operate blind. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if their attack landed. They don't know if you're angry, hurt, amused, or indifferent. And that uncertainty is agonizing for them. Second, you create a vacuum. Human beings are deeply uncomfortable with vacuums in social interaction. When you don't respond, the other person feels compelled to fill the space. And when they fill it, they start talking. And when they start talking, they start revealing. They over-explain. They escalate. They backtrack. They contradict themselves. They show their hand. Your silence forces them to play their cards, and the more they play, the more you see. Third, silence shifts the burden of the interaction. When you react, you're carrying the emotional weight of the confrontation. You're engaged. You're invested. You're in the ring. When you're silent, you step out of the ring. Now they're in there alone, swinging at air, performing for an audience of one who isn't clapping. This is deeply destabilizing. Aggressors need your reaction to validate their aggression. They need you to fight back so the fight feels real. When you don't fight back, not out of fear, but out of strategic disinterest, their aggression has nowhere to land. It just hangs in the air, looking petty and desperate. Think about this carefully. When someone insults you and you fire back, you have created a contest. And in a contest, either person can win. When someone insults you and you simply look at them with calm, flat attention, there is no contest. There is only one person being emotional and one person being still. The contrast is devastating. The emotional person looks unstable. The calm person looks powerful. Not because they said something clever. Because they said nothing. Silence is the most underused weapon in human interaction. It costs nothing. It reveals nothing. It pressures everything. And it makes the other person do the work of filling the void, which means they do the work of defeating themselves. The cost to you of always filling silence is that you never get to see what people do when they're uncomfortable. You never get to see who they really are when the script is taken away. You're so busy managing the interaction that you miss the intelligence being offered to you for free. Learn to let silence do the heavy lifting. It will do things your words never could. Number 5. Control your emotions before you control anyone else. This is the foundation. The bedrock. The thing that everything else rests on. You cannot control another person if you cannot control yourself. This is not philosophy. This is mechanics. Think of it like this. Imagine you're playing chess, but your pieces move every time you feel an emotion. You're about to take the queen, but you get anxious, and your knight shifts to the wrong square. You see a clear path to checkmate, but you get angry, and your rook slides off the board. How can you possibly win a game when your own pieces won't stay where you put them? That's what it's like trying to navigate human dynamics without emotional control. You see the right move. You know what to do. But in the moment, your emotions shift everything. You overplay your hand because you're excited. You concede too early because you're uncomfortable. You reveal your strategy because you're angry. You abandon your plan because you're anxious. Your emotions are the enemy of your strategy. Not because emotions are bad. They're not. They're information. But when you act on them instead of observing them, you become a servant to your own internal weather. Robert Greene articulated something essential about warfare, and all human interaction is a form of warfare, whether you like it or not. He said that the first battle is always internal. Before you face an enemy, you face yourself. Before you can read someone else, you must be able to read yourself without being moved by what you see. Before you can manipulate a situation, you must be able to sit in it without being swept away. Emotional control is the prerequisite for all other forms of control. Without it, every skill you have is compromised. Your intelligence becomes unreliable because it's filtered through agitation. Your charm becomes inconsistent because it's dependent on your mood. Your strategic thinking becomes reactive because your emotions keep overriding your plans. You become a talented person who can never fully deploy their talents because they keep getting interrupted by their own feelings. The people who run the world, and I mean the people who actually run it, not the ones who appear to, are not the smartest. They are not the most talented. They are the ones who can feel an emotion and not act on it. Who can be furious and still smile? Who can be terrified and still speak clearly? Who can be in love and still think straight? That capacity, to feel without being driven, to experience without being consumed, is the single most valuable skill in the human repertoire. And it is a skill. Not a trait. Not a gift. A skill. Which means it can be trained. The cost to you of not having emotional control is that you will always be less effective than your potential. You will always be a diminished version of yourself. You will have moments of brilliance interrupted by moments of self-sabotage. You will build things and then destroy them in a single fit of reaction. You will earn trust and then lose it in a single emotional outburst. Your life will be a pattern of almost succeeded, almost won, almost got there, but the emotion got in the way. Number 6. Composure destabilizes the aggressor. Here is something I want you to understand deeply. When someone attacks you, they are not just trying to hurt you. They are trying to create a specific dynamic. They want to be the one who acts and you to be the one who reacts. They want to be the cause and you to be the effect. They want to feel powerful by making you feel powerless. Your reaction is the payoff. Without your reaction, their attack is incomplete. It's like throwing a punch in an empty room. The punch exists, but it doesn't connect. It doesn't land. It doesn't matter. When you remain calm in the face of aggression, something profound happens to the aggressor. They expected resistance. They braced for impact. They prepared for a fight. And instead, they got nothing. Not passive submission. Not fearful retreat. Nothing. Just calm, steady, unbroken presence. This is deeply destabilizing. Because now they don't know what's happening. Their model of how people work says, when I attack, people react. When I insult, people get defensive. When I provoke, people fight back. But you're not doing any of that. You're just standing there, looking at them like they're a mild inconvenience, like a fly at a picnic. And now they have to deal with the possibility that their attack didn't work. Which means they have to deal with the possibility that you are not who they thought you were. Which means they have to deal with the possibility that they are less powerful than they assumed. Aggressors are built on a foundation of assumed power. They believe they can move people. When they encounter someone they can't move, the foundation cracks. And when the foundation cracks, they either escalate, becoming more extreme, more desperate, more revealing, or they retreat. Either way, you've won. If they escalate, they show you more of their hand. They reveal more of their strategy. They become more transparent. You learn more. If they retreat, you've established that their aggression doesn't work on you, and they will think twice before trying again. But here's the key. This only works if your composure is real. If it's a mask, if you're seething inside but pretending to be calm, they will eventually sense it. People are better at reading suppressed emotion than we give them credit for. Micro-expressions leak. Body language betrays. The real power is not in performing calm. It's in being calm. In genuinely not being moved. In actually feeling the provocation and choosing, consciously, that it does not deserve your reaction. That's why this is a practice, not a technique. You can't fake your way to unshakable composure. You have to build it. From the inside out. The cost to you of not understanding this dynamic is that you will keep engaging with aggressors on their terms. You will keep fighting the fights they want to fight, on the terrain they chose, with the weapons they selected. You will keep losing because you are playing their game. Composure is the refusal to play their game. It is the insistence on playing yours. And your game is simple: I will not be moved. Number 7. Make provocation boring. This is the long game. This is the ultimate destination. The goal is not just to endure provocation without reacting. The goal is to reach a state where provocation doesn't even register as interesting. Where someone tries to push your buttons and you feel nothing. Not suppressed anger. Not hidden pain. Nothing. Boredom, maybe. A mild curiosity about why they think this would work. But no spike. No heat. No pull. This is what emotional immunity looks like. And it is achievable. Not overnight. Not through a single insight or a single video. But through daily, deliberate practice. Here is what that practice looks like. First, you start noticing your reactions in real time. Not after. During. You feel the heat rise when someone says something provocative, and instead of acting on it, you name it internally. There it is. That's the reaction. I see it. I feel it. I'm not going to act on it. That moment of noticing, that is the space between stimulus and response. That space is where your freedom lives. At first, the space is tiny. A fraction of a second. You notice the reaction, but you've already started responding. That's okay. The noticing itself is the practice. Over time, the space widens. You notice the reaction earlier. You have more time to choose. The reaction loses some of its urgency. It becomes one option among many instead of the only option. Second, you start reframing provocation. When someone insults you, instead of processing it as an attack, which triggers your defense system, you process it as data. What does this insult tell me about this person? What are they trying to accomplish? What does their choice of attack reveal about their perception of my vulnerabilities? Is their perception accurate? If not, why did they choose this particular angle? If so, how do I shore up that vulnerability so it can't be used again? Every provocation becomes an intelligence operation rather than an emotional event. You go from being the target to being the analyst. Third, you practice deliberate exposure. You don't avoid situations that might provoke you. You seek them out. Not masochistically. Strategically. You go into difficult conversations knowing you will be provoked and using them as training grounds. You let people try to push your buttons while you practice not moving. It's like sparring. You don't spar because you enjoy getting hit. You spar because getting hit in a controlled environment prepares you for getting hit in a real one. Fourth, you build an internal anchor. Something that is independent of all external input. A self-assessment that you have deliberately constructed and that no one else has the authority to revise. This is not arrogance. Arrogance is fragile because it depends on being better than others. This is something else. It's a quiet, unshakable relationship with yourself that says, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what I am not. And nothing you say or do will change that knowledge. When you have that anchor, provocations bounce off because they're trying to reach a self that you've already secured. It's like trying to rob a bank where the vault is empty. Go ahead. Break in. There's nothing here. The cost to you of not building this immunity is that you will spend your entire life on defense. You will be reactive, defensive, and exhausted. You will be manipulated by anyone who takes the time to learn your triggers. You will lose arguments you should have won, make enemies of people you should have ignored, and damage relationships you should have protected. All because you could not hold your center. Let me bring this together. The single idea I want you to carry from everything I've said is this. Your calm is not the absence of emotion. Your calm is the presence of power. It is the evidence that you have done the work, that you have built an internal fortress that cannot be breached by words, by insults, by manipulation, by provocation, by the petty games that most people spend their lives playing. Most people are reactive. They are weather vanes, spinning with every wind. They are instruments, played by anyone who knows the key. They are mirrors, reflecting whatever is placed in front of them. Strategic people are none of these things. They are fixed. They are anchored. They are unmoved. Not because they don't feel. Because they have learned that feeling is not the same as being controlled. You can feel everything and be moved by nothing. That is the highest form of power available to a human being. And it is available to you. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not after you've read more. Not after you've thought about it more. Right now, you can begin the practice. Right now, you can choose to widen the space between stimulus and response. Right now, you can decide that the next person who tries to provoke you will meet a version of you they were not prepared for, a version that does not flinch, does not defend, does not explain, and does not break. The ruthless art Machiavelli perfected, the art of being so internally anchored that nothing external can move you, now it is yours. But only if you practice it. Only if you build it. Only if you choose, every single day, to be the calm in a world full of people who are desperately trying to make you storm. Attention is temporary. Mental space is power. Being liked is not being respected. And your calm, your unshakable, immovable, unbreakable calm, is the weapon they cannot survive. If you understood what I just said, if something in you shifted while listening to this, then say it. Declare it. Type it. I am untouchable. Not because I am invincible. Because I am unmoved. And then come back tomorrow. Because this is not a one-time lesson. This is a daily practice. This is the rest of your life.